What is your criterion for choosing the models for Kingfisher Calendar?
Swimsuit calendar models need to be extremely fit. If the flare of the hips is high and the torso shorter than the legs, then they inevitably look better.
Personally, I've covered a lot of these shows of Salman Khan, the Bang show. I've covered it in the US, Canada, Australia, UK on mobile phone.
My first love in photography is portraiture.
Film industry, so it's a really bad place, and there's nepotism, and only star kids they tend to get their due, and other people they have to struggle for a long time and they have to go through a lot of grind.
Nepotism happens everywhere. If you're not good enough, you will be thrown out by that industry. Simple as that. In Nirja, we introduced Jim Sarb. In Cheat India, we gave a break to Shreya Dhanvantri. The movie didn't do a great theatrical, but after Scam 92, everybody has noticed Shreya, and she's a phenomenal actor as well.
Atul Kasbekar, welcome on Bollywood Hungama.
Thank you, Faridoon. Always a pleasure to hang and chat with you, my friend.
That's mutual. Now, you've shot many Kingfisher calendars. How is it different with COVID around?
First of all, one of the benefits of having a pandemic was that we had to reevaluate where we travel. Or wo kya hota na? Sometimes the obvious is obscure, as they say. So, I've been to Kerala at least a dozen times on holidays, but I've never shot there. So I thought कि यार ये जो बगल वाला जो location है, instead of going to Croatia and Cape Town and Mykonos and all these fancy places we go to each time, I said let's go to a really fancy place in India, and this time professionally. So if you haven't been to Kerala on holiday, I think it's one of the absolute must-dos in this country. So we shot there, and I'm really grateful for the opportunity.
I was in Kerala in Christmas holiday with my family.
Ah, nice. Did you like
I was
it?
there. I've just come back. This was the second time for holidays. It's amazing. I went to Thekri and Marari and Kochi, and yeah, Kerala is heaven. All right. So in terms of precautions and the element of fear that is there while shooting in times of COVID, how did you guys deal with it? What are the precautions that you were taking?
So, good question. We pretty much were in a bubble. So, before we enter a van, bus, etc., we had these fog machines that went and sanitized everything. Each time we entered any hotel, everybody's luggage was sanitized. We had masks on at all times, except, when the models were shooting. The models were not wearing a mask, obviously. But then, simple things like buffet counters, for example, nobody's touching the utensils. So somebody's always serving you. So there's no human contact to human contact. Things like that. So, you can only be as careful as you possibly can. Luckily for us, all our measures went off well, and nobody got sick. So that's nice.
So which place in Kerala did you shoot?
We shot at the Marari beach where you were. We also shot at Coconut. Yeah, we also shot at Coconut Lagoon. We shot at the Brunton Boatyard in Kochi and the Taj Kumarakom. So we had a tie-up with the casino group of hotels and also with the Taj. So all our shooting, except for one day at the beach, for Marari Beach, everything was within the hotel property. So it was genuinely a bubble.
Okay. What is your criterion for choosing the models for Kingfisher Calendar?
Well, I think, again, good question. People have this strange misconception for some reason that models need to be skinny. And that's really not the case. For something like a swimsuit calendar, models need to be extremely fit. So actually, the more athletic and toned you are, and ideally it should be like a body that has been made doing a lot of yoga or Pilates. So you actually need to be very strong, and that's when it looks good. I'm going to take it for granted of a body that is in modeling. Just like if you're hired as a scientist in ISRO, your brain is supposed to be at another level. So it's a requirement. But I think what helps is, and we've often shot with girls that are less than 5'6", but it helps if your legs are long. So if the flare of the hips is high and the torso shorter than the legs, then they inevitably look better. We had a 6-foot model with us, Gena Singh. So really lovely. I mean, if you're 6 foot tall, then you can put the camera anywhere or roughly aim in her direction and you'll get nice shots. So
the interesting thing with the Kingfisher calendars has been that many of your calendar girls, they've gone on to become huge when it either in modeling or movies. Deepika Padukone is one example. There are many more. Any model of this calendar that you feel can make it big?
Yes, this girl I mentioned, Ghena Singh Mahiaria, I've told her dad as well that I said just pack her bags and send her to Milan or London, New York, the first available opportunity when things settle down, because I think she has the quality to be an international model. She's probably too tall for cinema क्योंकि 6 फुट की लड़की है तो लड़के उससे और लंबे चाहिए तो that's always going to be a problem. Her. And also, I think there's a girl called Adeline Castellino, who's our candidate for Miss Universe, who I thought is interesting in terms of getting into the movies. If she's interested, I don't know if she is, but I think she has that the kind of face that would work.
Okay, you've always chosen models instead of Bollywood personalities, but can we see at any stage that you opt for Bollywood personalities for being a part of your Kingfisher calendar?
I would love to, yeah. I think if I got a chance to shoot with, let's say, Shilpa Shetty and Mandira Bedi, and actually all the girls are super fit now. I'm just naming a couple who I think are phenomenally fit. I think it'll be quite something. Someone like Sayemi Khair, who's runs marathons. So I think there's something really hot about really strong women. Actually, strong women are hot, whether they are emotionally strong, physically strong, whatever I find. In fact, if you've noticed the movies I've made, a lot of them are very female-centric, whether it's Neerja, Tumhari Sulu, or so on. So I think maybe I'm just drawn to that kind of personality altogether. I think it's a good idea to you. आप बताओ, you be के boss लोगों को कि एक बारी let's just do one with actresses. I'll take you along with the shoot for that one.
Over the years, what we have noticed is that there is, I think, a lot of debates going on in terms of the way the women should be portrayed, the way the photographs should be. Maybe a lot of people, they have issues with maybe objectification at times. There are issues with color, that why it's important to be not just persisting on a certain type of color in terms of skin color. As an artist, as a photographer, how much of these considerations do you keep in mind over a period of time, so that there's the level of criticism maybe is less, and you personally are totally sure that you're not maybe hurting anyone's sentiments?
So first of all, I think we live in an easily outraged world, So just getting outraged is a national pastime all over the world. Okay, in every country there are people who get outraged, no matter what you do. Okay, so I couldn't give a toss what anyone thinks. One, two is I think almost every single girl who we've ever shot with has almost always called and wanted to be shot again. So we rarely shoot people more than once. The record I think has been thrice. I think Yana shot thrice. So we've always treated people phenomenally well. And personally, I can say this on record that I have single-handedly promoted from the beginning of my career, duskier girls, in advertising. From the early days of people like Sheetal Malar, who nobody gave time of day to at that time, I have single-handedly, promoted them. And if they can, and I can honestly proudly say this, hand on my heart, if today it is kosher to have duskier girls in a country where there are ridiculously awful things like fairness creams, then I can take a little bit of credit for this, 100%. Okay, because I honestly think they're stunning. I find them far more attractive, to be honest, than fairer skin for a start. And through my entire career, I've never shot for a fairness cream. So I will not use whatever talent, whether you think it's a lot or meager, whatever it is. I have never used it to shoot for a fairness cream, period. They've asked many times, now they stopped asking because they know I'm not going to do it. So you don't have enough money in your bank to make me shoot for a fairness cream, I won't do it. So, and if you want to, I'm not into banning anything, but if you want to ban something, this is something I would probably, say is worth removing from our psyche.
Okay, so I believe you've tied up with Me Phones to do something for the COVID warriors.
Yes, they came to me with a campaign. They said, I love these when someone comes and says, we want you to shoot, and now give us a good idea and we'll put your name below it. So I said, look, we've gone through an incredible year, and only in an adversity do you see where real character lies. And you can see here that there were a lot of people who completely unasked have just stood up and been counted. And there are some remarkable stories all over the country of people who just did their little bit, and a lot of them very quietly. So they thought it was a great idea. And the interesting thing about the Xiaomi phone is that it has a setting at a 108 megapixel, which is unbelievably sharp. So we shot everything at a 108 megapixel, on a smartphone, which is, a lot of DSLRs can't compete with that kind of resolution. And so I shot all these portraits of people who were flown in from all over, including from Manipur and Srinagar and Bangalore and further south from Chennai. There was a gentleman, for example, who was an ambulance driver who was doing a job that nobody wanted to do. And then he couldn't go home because he was just ferrying people to hospitals and bodies to morgues. So he slept in his ambulance for 2 months, and remarkable people like Dr. Lakdawala, Mufi, who's the bariatric surgeon. He went and basically stopped his practice, as you know, and he converted the NSCI dome. So he helped the Maharashtra government converting the NSCI dome into a quarantine facility. So then Manish Mundra, the Drishyam films, Manish. So Manish basically, to hazard a guess, I think Manish single-handedly must have written out checks worth, in my estimation, in the range of about 9 to 11 crores, just to all kinds of people that he had no idea who they were. In fact, he started doing a PPE drive, which I then said, "Yaar, ye kaun aadmi hai? Main kabhi mila nahi inko." But I called him up and said, "Can I help you?" So then for about 3.5 months, I was helping him, just send out PPE kits to frontline medical workers who didn't have enough protection from the virus. So I think there were a lot of remarkable people. So the campaign was fun to do because for me, Faridoon, my first love in photography is portraiture. So I got to do a lot of portraits of some real people and no retouching. Okay. So if there are lines, we've left the lines. If there's a freckle, we've left the freckle. There's a certain raw, real honesty about the pictures. So most of our world is a lot make-believe. The sky is not good today. Change the sky. There's a line on the leg, remove the line, shape the leg, whatever you have to do, you do. So
absolutely. Now, how different is it to shoot on a mobile phone compared to the regular camera?
Well, the rules of photography don't change. They're the same. You clean your lens on a DSLR, you should clean your, lens on a smartphone. If you want a picture sharp on your DSLR, you will stay really still. Ideally, you will put on a tripod. Same thing over here. People just go click, and it may not be sharp enough. So I think the rules are by and large unchanged. But the wonderful thing is, you now have a camera in your pocket with which you answer the phone once in a while. So, but most people tend to use it as a camera first. And what's happened is that there's become a vast democratization of the photographic process. So my orthopedic surgeon who did a surgery on my knee was showing me some work he had done. I said, "These are quite nice." It's Dr. Taraporwala. And he said, "Yeah, I'm doing classes on iPhone photography." Now, see, on a given day, Dr. Taraporwala can take a great photo, which could be as good as a professional photographer's. But on no given day will anybody trust me to replace somebody's kneecap. Okay. So my lawyer can take a great photo on a given day, but they will not trust me to argue a case in a Supreme Court. You see what I mean? So I think what's happened is, as far as professionals go, what's happened with photography is that it is now accessible and tangible to everybody. On a given day, you could take the best photo in the world. So, or as Instagram would say, hashtag pick of the day. So,
personally, about what you said about the mobile phones, since the lockdown has begun, I have done more than 350 virtual interviews on a mobile phone.
Right. There you go. All of a sudden, all the technical people around you are feeling redundant. Yaar, ye kya ho raha hai?
No, but how do you look at this entire process going from here on? Do you think even once things settle down, this process on the mobile phones and the relevance of mobile phones will continue?
No, I think the mobile phone photography is just going to get better and better and better, and it's inevitable that I think you'll see a lot of interchangeable lenses, come on, and there are already a lot of documentaries and small commercials, etc., being used in my film. Actually, like there are some scenes that are being shot on a mobile phone because it is the most accessible piece, to do what it is that we want to do. So We've got some iPhones that have been rigged, to do some visuals in Loop Lapeta, which hopefully when the edit is ready, I'll show you कि ये iPhone पे किया था. And we're even using 16 mm somewhere. So, but I think, here's the thing, okay, is while it's become democratic and everybody can take a great photo, I think the real essence of it is that Faridoon, when you take a picture versus let's see who's here. If Shifa takes a picture or Tahir takes a picture, is going to vary even if I give you the same object to take a picture. Okay, and photography, or the moment you decide to press something, or is a distillation of, I think, your life experiences in some small form. They come into play for that 1/60th of a second when where you've traveled, what you've seen, what your cultural influences are, what colors do you use in the background or not, how you frame something. Is, I think, it all comes into the forefront when you're taking a picture. So if I'm lecturing at an art school, I tell them, when you go to a foreign city or another city from your own, do you go to the museums? Do you go to the art galleries all the time in your own city? Do you travel? Do you watch theater? Do you do things like this? Because you must increase your artistic inferences, and I think that is what will make you a great photographer or a great storyteller or a great director or a great cameraman. And at the end of the day, as somebody famous once said, no typewriter ever wrote a novel by itself. So yes, the process is easier for you, but are you still going to make great images with it? Because for that, you still need a learning. You still need experiences. You still need to be a sponge. I like to think I'm a sponge all the time, not of anyone's money, but of people's experiences. Yes.
What you're saying, I think it makes a lot of sense. Personally, I've covered a lot of these shows of Salman Khan, the Bang show. I've covered it in the US, Canada, Australia, UK on mobile phone entirely. I think it's a great experience. And होता क्या है कि वो आप करते रहते हैं जो अपने framing की आपने बात कही है, वो आप कोई चीज I'm not a trained photographer for that matter or cameraman, but लेकिन आप करते रहते हैं तो एक point of time के बाद में I think वो framing की आप जो बात कह रहे हैं वो एक sense मेरे ख्याल से आता जाता है.
Correct.
When you keep on doing it, so after a point of time you start getting it. All right, Loop Lapeta. Now the interesting part about Loop Lapeta is that I think it's the first film that's having a special COVID insurance.
I mean, what to do, yeah? If you get stuck, somebody gets COVID and you're stuck for X number of days, and whatever, you're in trouble. So we've taken great pains to make sure that we are financially secure in case kuch ho gaya to. So, for example, one of our stars, the star spot boy, got diagnosed positive. But luckily, he comes in a full PPE suit, so kuch hua nahi. But now it's reached a point where you must finish your principal photography in time. If you get delayed on your principal photography, it's very, very difficult then to pull the project back. So, so you have to take every bit of care to make sure. We have a 500 rupee fine on set if you are caught without a mask worn properly. So, so we are not taking any prisoners on this one. You just have to be super careful.
That is interesting. And what is the amount for the insurance that you guys have taken?
I think it's to do with stop it. Tanuj would be able to answer that question better. I'm more on the creative this thing. He handles all the legal and the financial stuff.
But any approximate idea, just in case?
I'll have to let you know. You mean to what amount are we insured for?
Yeah.
Or what is the premium?
Amount that you're insured for.
Oh, I think it's about 1 crore or something.
Something like that. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And now your actress is Taapsee, who's doing really well right now. She is one of the most fascinating artists that we have right now, and she's doing a wide variety of roles that are lined up. And do you think, with you being around in the industry for such a long time, it's also a benchmark when there are certain personal attacks that tend to happen on certain artists, that they have really arrived because that is why they are attacked from certain quarters? Do you think that? Because Taapsee is off late under fire.
Yeah, I'll tell you this, working with her, is I actually told her that, you are singularly one of the most remarkable people I've worked with. So every film we have, in the future, I'll if there's even a remotely relevant part, we'll offer it to you. So right now she has two scripts of ours on her desk. One is actually a special appearance. We see, isme to special appearance hai, will you do it? She's saying, I'll read it. Okay. And the other one is a full-fledged lead role. So, you know what they say, na? I suppose if they're ignoring you, that's when you should be really worried. So I think it's like to not be noticed is death. So in whatever way, you should not be ignored, I guess. That's the only solace one can take. But she's remarkably professional. She is there 5-10 minutes before time every day. Like today it was a 6:30 call time for her, and I have not reached the set because I'm not required there at that time. And there's a ground producer has sent a text on the group saying, Tapsi has arrived and it's 6:25. So she comes there, she does her thing, and she's an absolute delight to work with. So I can't understand why she would be under fire for anything. Honestly.
Okay, and now as far as Loop Lapeta is concerned, you're also being conscious as far as environment is concerned. Apparently, plastic bottles are banned. You're having steel bottles.
Yes, we gave everybody bottles from Borosil, and then there are spot boys who fill up your water. And we have some plastic on set because you can't bring water. How else do you bring water from the main source to the set? So we have these large water containers. Also, what we do is we segregate all our garbage. We take photos of every location. We've done this as a practice from the beginning. We take photos of every location and videos of every location before we go in. And we make sure that when we leave, it is as clean, if not much cleaner than when we left, after we leave. So, and then we'll send evidence back ki dekho bhaiya aisa diya tha aur aisa wapas kar rahe hain. So, so I think that little bit of extra money. So there are people who are literally only segregating the garbage, and at every location there's somebody who comes and takes whatever little plastic and your recyclable stuff that's there. So I think, if you have 120, 140 people on a unit, it's very easy to pile up the garbage, quickly, and over 20, 30 days at a location, you can make a right royal mess, as you know. And it bothers me because, if you just keep this much of your area clean and everybody does that, so we can be in a remarkably, cleaner environment, not to mention much healthier and more hygienic. Have you, by the way, been to Sri Lanka?
I've been to Sri Lanka twice.
Right. So, so have you seen the villages there? I mean, they are so
I was there.
Unbelievably clean, clean, and their rupee to the dollar is, I think, 30, 40%, or 50% more than ours. I don't know exactly what the Sri Lankan rupee trades are to the dollar, but it's way poorer than the Indian rupee. You would think that they would be in worse shape, and we live like pigs in our villages for some reason. A lot of them, I mean, I have a house in Karjat, and just driving through, it's a disaster. There's like mounds of garbage all over the place. And why? It's just so simple to keep it clean. So we just decided that hamara jo ilaka hai, hamari jo area hai, we will make sure that saaf rakhenge.
In fact, I went to Sri Lanka in 2010 for IFA, and at that point of time, this entire war situation was going on, and it was not in good shape. And I went back in 2016, I think 2015, 16 for Bombay Velvet's shoot, and it was in a village only. And there's a remarkable change.
Yeah.
There's a remarkable change, and we were staying in a village, and every house was properly pakka, and the roads were very good. So there was a remarkable change in a very, very short span of time. So that is true. And I think हमारा 1 रुपया उनका 2 रुपये के बराबर होता है. So it's double.
So
yeah, something like that. Okay, any plans of turning a director with so much of experience that you have?
Nahi yaar. I think what happens is, I thought about it for a long time. But what happens with directors is now Akash Bhatia, who's done Inside Edge 2, and this will be his debut motion picture. And we have a habit of, as you've noticed, probably of taking people from advertising and blooding them into the big bad movie world. They are obsessive about making that one movie. Morning, noon, night, they're not thinking of anything else. It's just that. It's the film, the film, the film, the film. So as a result, and I have to be honest that there are many stories I want to tell, and I want to be part of a process of putting many interesting stories out there. And we are always on the lookout for interesting stories long before this word good content was making the rounds, So if if I take up a directorial thing, the most important thing is, as a director, I have not paid my dues. So if I'm telling actors to pay their dues, if I'm telling photographers to pay their dues and whatever, then if I want to be a director, I need to pay my dues, which means I need to stop everything I'm doing and work with a director who I like or two over 1-2 years. It'll be a faster process for me than for most other people, I'm sure, because there's already enough, experience. But it still needs to be done. And I don't have that 1-2 years to put in, and I'm not dying to do it, to be honest. But this is more fun. I'm like, we are working with 3-4 other advertising people who we are introducing into the movie world, and it's such a absolute rush for me to. Faridoon, there's an interesting space. The space is to play Zubin Mehta. Okay, Zubin Mehta does not play anything. Okay, but Zubin Mehta creates the platform. And I'd like to think that Ellipsis is a platform for different creative people to come together and, hopefully make music that sounds like a symphony. Sometimes you get it wrong, it can sound like a cacophony, but, but the point is that Zubin Mehta is not doing the piano solo. He's not doing the, saxophone solo or the violin solo. He's not playing anything, but he's controlling all these incredibly talented musicians and creating a beautiful space for everybody to enjoy. So I think I'd like to see myself as Apro Zubin. I think every producer is actually Zubin Mehta.
That's a beautiful analogy. Okay, so I have two more questions for you, Atul. One is that आपने बहुत से आपने अभी बातें जिस तरीके से बताई in terms of how your set is environment friendly. You're putting a fine of 500 rupees if anyone is not wearing the mask right, and even in terms of that you being you think of yourself as Zubin Mehta in terms of handling everything rightly. You're having directors, ad filmmakers who are just dying to make that one film. Now, in the last 6-7 months, we've had some really cacophonous conversations around the film industry, and there is a certain viewpoint that it's a really bad place and it's filled with bullies and all sorts of bad things that are happening, and there's nepotism, and only star kids they tend to get their due, and other people, they have to struggle for a long time and they have to go through a lot of grind. How do you look at the conversations, the way they have taken place, and then the role the media has played in terms of highlighting it in a ludicrous manner with what you're saying? Because what you're saying seems like a world that these people, they would not identify with. This seems far more organized and nice, what you're saying.
So first things first, in every movie of ours, we've tried to introduce one person who deserves a shot in the limelight. Okay. So in Nirja, we introduced Jim Sarb, and there were a lot of calls for a known person to play the terrorist. And Ram Madhvani and I said, "Ki, listen, if we find somebody new, then there is a Gabbar Singh quality to it." So in Sholay, when you first saw Gabbar, there was no background. He had not been beaten up by Dharamji in some earlier movie. तो कोई baggage नहीं था ना. So he came on screen and you're like, oh my God, कितने आदमी थे बोला और सबकी, whatever. So I think the brief was, let's find the next Gabbar. In Tumhari Sulu, Manav Kaul, who I think is a phenomenal actor, and we were looking for the next Sanjeev Kumar. Okay, we said, who would be our ideal person to cast in opposite Vidya? And we said, we need the next Sanjeev Kumar, basically. And, we zeroed on him. Again, there was a call to take a more known face. And I said, no, let's do this. Okay. In Cheat India, we gave a break to Shreya Dhanvantri. The movie didn't do a great theatrical, but after Scam 92, everybody has noticed Shreya, and she's a phenomenal actor as well. So we made it a point to give a less famous surname a chance, because neither Tanuj Garg or Atul Kasbekar have any history in the film industry whatsoever. Okay. So if we had to fight, and we are outsiders, if we had to fight to get a small toenail in, then the least we can do is give a chance to people who we think are extremely deserving of a chance. Okay. Now, coming to the point of nepotism, I assure you, please explain to me. I mean, I went to Campion. There were, let me not name names, but some massive business families, the biggest in the country at that time, were my classmates. Okay. One of them was an extremely talented singer. Okay. But he's running his family's multi-billion-dollar empire. Why did he not go on to become Arijit Singh? he would have made a very comfortable living, but it's not. So there's enough nepotism. Then another guy who is the son of probably India's most famous gynecologist, he went on to become a gynecologist. Not only he could have become, he became a doctor. He could have become a cardiologist. He could have become an orthopedic surgeon. No, but he entered his family business, and he became a doctor delivering babies, and he's doing phenomenally well. So I'm saying nepotism happens everywhere. If you're not good enough, you will be thrown out by that industry. Simple as that. And I'm saying all the people who are complaining about nepotism, okay, have you stopped following every single Star Kids Instagram account? Have you stopped following them on whatever, you haven't, right? Then shut up, So, and I'm saying this as an outsider. I'm saying a lot of people just love to give gyan without, actually walking the talk. So if you're following all the famous Star Kids and then you complain about the Star Kids, then you have no business to be, opening your mouth at all. And there are enough Star Kids. And look, I came into photography. We come from a family of professionals. Advertising kya hoti hai, kisi ko pata nahi, So I went with my jhola all over the place, to agencies ki sir mujhe kaam do, here's my portfolio. And then little bits. And then, I got more and more work. So now, but if my son wants to, for whatever reason, become a photographer, I would try and stop him. But if he wanted to do it, I would make a few phone calls and say, yeah, here's this portfolio, take a look. I would call friends of mine who are heads of agencies or whatever. Yeah, inse milo, ye mere putra hai, and maybe you can give him some work. So, you would do that, right? So, but if he's not a good enough photographer, that guy will not take my call again, So all you can do is open the door. And if you're not good enough, you will get tossed out. And then the wonderful thing is there are phenomenal actors like Pankaj Tripathi, Manoj Bajpayee, so many, Taapsee Pannu, in our film. I mean, she's come from nowhere. Deepika Padukone, what was her legacy? Her legacy that her dad was world famous in the world, as a badminton player. Otherwise, nothing, right? As an actor. So if you're not good enough, you will be tossed out. If you're good enough, it will take longer. And I think it's Vinod Kambli's famous line where he said, I'm taking the staircase to success. Some people get to take the elevator. Okay? So, you're not dealt the same cards at every card game.
Okay, last question to you, Atul. Now, you're also someone who is known to express himself openly on social media. You have your views. They are unadulterated, unfiltered. You tend to get into trouble at times as well. You tend to get judged as well. How do you deal with your social media prowess?
I take everything with a pinch of salt. My political views are centrist. I'm not left nor right. I'll call it like I see it. And I think if there's a certain sense of honesty, I can honestly say that I know a lot of people in politics, and most of them are, I think most of them, if not all of them, are very fond of me. And they're all, one arm tapping distance if I ever need any kind of help. So I think people appreciate people when they know they're genuinely sincere. But I believe the hottest places in hell are reserved for those who do not take sides in times of a crisis.
Wow.
I think it was Voltaire who said that, but you might want to Google that to double check. I think it was Voltaire. But the hottest places in hell are reserved for those who do not take sides in time of a crisis. So you may not agree with me, which is fine. You're entitled to your own view, but I will not sit on the fence. If I have an opinion, I will tell it to you. I will tell it to you gently, politely, in a hopefully non-abusive manner. And I will listen to yours, and I'll respect yours, but I don't need to agree with you. And I think that's what sensible debate is all about, So
you use the term democratic again and again, and I think that's what democracy is all about. To say and to listen to the other person's point of view.
I mean, I listen a lot. I talk a lot, but I also listen a lot. So
no, absolutely.